Now, Positively Ernie with Ernie Anastos, a New York TV legend and radio host with great positive stories and interviews.
Thanks, Ernie. You're the best.
And now, here's Ernie.
And hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're talking about good things today, as always, with good people. You want to talk about a good person? Oh, my God. I want you to meet Joan Lunden. Does she need an introduction? Hold my hands, will you please? My goodness. Unbelievable. She is the best.
I introduced you when you came to New York.
1978, Joni.
Yes.
Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Do you remember that day?
Oh,
I
my
do.
God. Yes, of course.
God, you were sitting on the set. You were with Roger Grimsby, and you introduced me my first day. It was July 4th.
How do you remember
because
these
I
things?
remember I covered the...
Mind is a steel trap, this Ernie Anastos.
I remember the parade that I covered that day, and I came on the set. You are unbelievable. We've known each other, I can't tell you how many years, since 1978.
Yeah.
And you have done so many great things. I want people, if we have time, I wish we had a whole day to talk to you. But Joan Lunden has done everything. I mean, how many years were you on Good Morning America?
18, almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I hosted for a little under 18, but I was there for 20 years.
Unbelievable.
Never did I believe when I started doing, spots for Good Morning America.
Yeah.
I was still at WABC, reporting and anchoring.
Yeah.
Did I ever think I'd be there for 20 years?
No, you had the talent. You still do. But I remember when you were at Channel 7 in New York, and then you went to ABC and did Good Morning America with David Hartman, who's a wonderful guy, and then
Charlie Gibson.
Exactly.
I was with David for like 11 years, and then Charlie the next, And in fact, I just heard from Charlie the other day.
How's he doing?
He's doing great.
Good.
He's truly retired.
Okay.
Like, he's taking retirement seriously.
Yeah.
And they were actually just moving. He said, I'm moving from New York. I'm moving to Seattle because he has a daughter that works, I forget with what, Google or something in Seattle. So, we keep in touch. We send each other. And he said, so I'm going through the moving process because we just moved too.
Yeah.
And he said, and I found a bunch of pictures. And he sends me just a bunch of pictures, like from various places. Sometimes I'm trying to figure out, where were we? Oh, my God, we were in Hong Kong.
Oh, yeah.
It's like...
Joan, tell me something, okay? From all the experiences, we're going to stay with Good Morning America and what you did. From all the time that you were on the air, does one interview stand out, one assignment, something that you'd say, you know what, I really remember this, and you did so much. But is there one thing?
That's like a flock of birds coming at you.
I know it is.
Interview, I'd say Prince Charles.
Prince Charles.
Only because it was the ungettable.
Yeah.
And each network got to send...
How'd you get him?
Because he came to the United States because Lord Mountbatten, his uncle, who was really like a surrogate dad to him because his dad was kind of cold and
I know that.
from him.
Prince Philip,
And so he had started a school in New Mexico, I guess. And then, of course, he was tragically killed in a terrorist attack. I don't know if you remember Lord Mountbatten.
Sure.
So Prince Charles was coming over here to, anoint this school. And each network, because back in those days, there was just ABC, CBS, and NBC.
Absolutely.
There wasn't
that was it.
Like a multitude of other channels.
Yeah.
The three networks could send a person. And at that time, I was sent from ABC. Jane Pauley was sent from NBC. And at the time, Diane Sawyer was the host of CBS Morning.
Right, exactly.
And she was sent. And they took us into a room and gave us all the rules. You can't sit before he sits. You don't shake his hand before he extends his. You call him Your Royal Majesty to begin with, and Your Highness afterwards.
You had a whole checklist you had to go through.
I mean, it's like, okay, let's go, and do this interview.
Yeah. So was he good? Did you like it?
So, and then they had to draw straws to see who went first.
Really?
So, the one thing. At the time, Prince Andrew was dating this stripper called Koo Stark. So the big takeaway was you are not allowed to ask any question about Koo Stark. First, Diane goes in, and 4 questions in, she asks about Koo Stark.
Well, there you go. She's a journalist.
Shut down. That was it.
Really?
She got zilch out of him after that. And he can be very stoic and quiet and stern. He's not exactly a jovial guy in an interview.
Yeah.
So now Jane went second. I obviously got short straw. And I was like, I don't know, 7 months pregnant. I was so pregnant they were just allowing me to
What year was that, Joni?
It would have been, I think I was pregnant. I'm trying to remember who I was pregnant with.
Yeah. You've had so many children.
Probably
90s?
I know, maybe Sarah, which would have been 1987.
87. Okay.
So,
all right.
So Jane managed to, Jane Pauley, kind of get him back on track a little bit. And now I'm ready to walk out there. Yeah. And Susan Winston, who is our producer, says, take your shoes off. Don't you remember he was the one who made that statement about women that he got so much in trouble for, saying, let's keep them barefoot and pregnant? I said, I don't remember the phrase, I'm not taking my shoes off. But I did use my pregnancy in the interview. To get what you want out of someone, you need to be able to kind of verbally and emotionally take them by the hand and lead them down the path.
Oh,
you
sure.
know this.
Yeah, exactly.
People attack senators on Capitol Hill and, why'd you do that? And then they give you what they want to say.
Yeah, right.
If you approach them and say, gosh, this is an interesting bill. Tell me how you came about doing this.
Right.
They'll tell you everything.
Exactly. Well, they open up.
It's all
because
how you
bring
approach
them into
it.
the tent. Exactly.
So, of course, I said to him, I'm pregnant right now. I know your wife is pregnant, too. We weren't supposed to ask anything about Diana or kids.
Well, you had a lot of rules, man.
Oh, a lot of rules.
My goodness. So here you are with Prince Charles, and you ask him what question?
And I said, when you're here opening this private school, you grew up always at a private school, living away at a private school.
Yeah.
And now you have a son, and your wife is pregnant again. How are you feeling about what kind of schooling you want your son to have? Do you want him to go the same route that you went? Because, that was... admittedly by you, kind of a lonely route. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to, I don't want him to go on that route.
Yeah.
And now I've got him talking about the son. And I said, I get this sense that, having gone down that route, that maybe you and Diana want to try to have a little bit more of a normal
So you got into
life.
the Diana thing, didn't you?
Now I got Diana into the conversation.
Right. You opened it up.
And I finally, in the end, got to say, and by the way, how is Diana doing? I don't want to forget to ask that.
Yeah.
Oh, she's doing fine. I'm the only one that got anything.
That was it. Fantastic.
That was it.
They didn't shut you down. Well, you know how to do it.
It's how you walk down the path.
Joni, you've done so many different things. Talk about interviews, talk about stories. And when you think about it, right now, at this stage of life, you and I are both still active. And you're doing a lot of things. You continue to do that. Do you think the secret to feeling young, looking young, and enjoying life...
maybe we just have some good genes.
Genes help a lot.
I think.
No, they do help, but you have to be active.
Your way of life is also very important. Staying active, eating healthy.
Yeah, but your mind is always working.
And I think continuing to work. Yeah, absolutely. I see people all the time out and they'll say, or how are you enjoying retirement? Now, I have a show on PBS called Second Opinion with Joan Lunden. It's about healthcare. I have a podcast with Washington Post and Cleveland Clinic on the future of healthcare. I'm writing my 11th book.
11th book. I have yours right here.
That was
Wait a minute, right here.
I'm writing my autobiography right now.
Look at this one.
This is available wherever you buy your books. And this is by far my funniest book. Why did I come into this room?
Yeah.
A candid story
about aging. That's a great title, by the way. I like that. And you're talking about aging.
My husband said, you can't say that. That's like, talking about, is it dementia? Like that 80% of the public at a certain age? I said, yes, I'm going to talk about all those things.
But you covered that subject, with good information and with some humor, which I think is very important.
How about chapter 13? Which is, I laugh so hard, tears roll down my leg. Come on, every woman over a certain age has a leaky bladder. Or one of my other favorites is...
So good to go through this right there. Really, it's like we're sitting in, I don't know, you're sitting at my house now and we're just talking. We're not even on camera here. So go ahead.
My last one, which is I want to be cremated. It's my last chance
remember,
for
in the book,
a smoking hot body.
This is great stuff because it's you. It's you. You weren't afraid to say who you were.
I write, will it really matter in 5 years? And that's about letting go of stupid stuff that people worry about and are angry about or sad about.
Oh, man.
Or like some little thing that they said to somebody and then they spend a week worrying about it. Will it really matter?
I wish that idea could really start at a very early age for people to be able to think about it and say, look, what am I truly concerned about in my life? Why should I sit there and worry about some of these things that really don't matter? And that anger, that violence that we're experiencing, it's terrible.
Well, you were a very positive person, obviously. You're doing this show.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the most positive people you know.
You are.
I am the glass half full girl.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't necessarily, I don't know, maybe we come out that way, but I was certainly created. That person was created by my mom. Mm-hmm. You met my mom.
Of course. Lovely.
And Gladdy, positively.
Wonderful.
I mean, she was
what a gem.
Someone once said about her, I gave a big party for her when she turned 75.
Yeah.
And they got up and they said, I would describe Gladdy as like a shooting star. Because even after she's come into a room, she's so effervescent and so positive that after she leaves the room, you still feel
absolutely
that positivity.
She gave that to you.
And
your dad was influential as well.
My dad was very influential in that he was an incredibly successful surgeon. He was raised by missionaries, and when you graduate from Loma Linda University, you're not just getting a medical degree. You are basically making a promise to go out in the world and be a missionary of sorts, to heal people.
Sure.
And that is going to be the focus of your career, and it certainly was the focus of his career. And I just wanted to be just like him. When I grew up, I wanted to be a doctor. You know that.
Yeah.
And he, of course, we lost him. He crashed in our family airplane coming back from speaking at a cancer convention. I was 13. And then later on, right before I went away to college, I went to work in a hospital that he had helped to found. I found out pretty quick, stitches and scalpels were not going to be part of my career.
You decided then and there.
It takes a certain kind of person, but I always had at my core, at my heart, that I wanted to disseminate health information or do something to help people
And you've been doing that on television.
And I hogged all the health stories at GMA.
I know.
And since I left GMA, every show I've done, everything I do, has to do with being a health advocate.
And also motherhood, too. You did a show about moms.
Yeah, well, but that's the same thing.
Same thing.
What's the saying? There are two important days in your life, the day you're born and the day you discover why. And I discovered why. I think I discovered why I was...
that's so important.
How I was going to make my mark on this world.
But if you have a sense, any person has a sense of purpose. That you believe that you have a gift, whatever it happens to be, and you're going to use it to the best of your ability. Isn't that what keeps you really going all the time?
That's why I wrote Healthy Cooking, Healthy Living, Growing Up Healthy. Like all these. Because I want to share. And the secret I found to writing a bestseller was don't just research a subject and share the information. I mean, that's important. Be as authentic and raw and honest.
Be yourself.
As you possibly can.
Be yourself, exactly.
And that really, to me, has been the secret to how I've written successful books. So now I'm writing my autobiography.
Yeah, that's going to be great. I can't wait for that. Let me ask you a question, because a lot of people ask me the same thing. Okay, I've done all these different things, won the awards and so forth. What do you want to do next? Now, I'm not going to answer that right now. I'm going to ask you, from all the things that you've done, you're writing the autobiography and so forth, but is there something that you'd say, I'd like to still do this. I'm still excited about whatever it happens to be. Joan Lunden, what is it?
It's so hard. I mean, there's so many different mediums these days, and I'm lucky that after all these years, different things come to me. But I'm not done. I mean, it might be another TV show. It's certainly going to be another book, and not just the autobiography. Like, I've been writing this autobiography for a while, and then things come up, and like I see that aging is something everyone's talking about. Like, okay, put the autobiography away, write a book about aging, and I'm glad I did it because I had a ball. I'm kind of done with that bucket list, like I want to jump out of an airplane and I want to...
Which you've done.
I want to land on an aircraft carrier and I want to deploy with the Navy SEALs. Like, I've done all those. I'm good at a cocktail party. You
got a lot to talk about. But let me tell you this, too, because we both knew Irma Bombeck.
Oh, sure.
And she had a terrific quote, and I use it often. She said, when I die and I go before God, I'm going to say, I have nothing left. I used all the talent you gave me.
I that's so
Isn't that a great quote? I use that often because, and I think you and I both feel the same way. There's some talent left.
Yes.
There are some dreams and goals.
And I'm using it up.
Exactly.
I do a lot of speaking.
Yeah, I know you do.
And when I was at Good Morning America, I never wanted to go out and speak anywhere. It scared me to death. And people would say, how can you be scared and unnerved in front of 300 people when 26 million people see you every morning?
Right.
I said, yeah, but I don't see any of them. I see my stage manager.
Right, it's just that camera.
And it used to really unnerve me. And I had a great excuse. I'm so sorry. I know you want me to speak at this wonderful event, but I don't know next year on that day where Good Morning America might have me in the world.
What changed it?
So when I left Good Morning America, I was asked to... Tony Robbins approached me and said, I'm doing a speaking tour over the next 3 years. I'd like to hire you to speak at all of these.
He's a giant.
He's a giant.
Yeah.
And so I remember I went to the first one. It was like, I don't know, Atlanta or Detroit in the big stadium where the basketball team plays. Like, it's a 26,000, and there were like 26,000 people there.
I'm sure,
I could never figure out how do you fill these stadiums.
Well, he's a big name. But
he's amazing.
Sure.
And he would always have me, and so he said, I want you to I get one of my speakers to do the breakfast, I get another one to do the lunch. People pay, I don't know,
whatever,
$350 extra to go to the breakfast, and you'll just answer questions and talk. And that was one of the best things ever, because it just made me get comfortable extemporaneously speaking and answering questions
that was
with
a huge
no
crowd,
script.
though. Wow.
And then when I'd go into the arena, and he always had me go first because I was always the morning girl.
Oh, yeah.
And the first time it was like surreal. I mean, I used to get like red and blotchy on my chest.
Oh, man, you were all nervous.
It was just torture to me. But that was like baptism by fire.
Yeah.
And little by little by little, I am living, walking proof that you can turn a total fear into a total passion.
And it works for you.
Speaking today, I probably do 30 speeches a year. Yeah. I don't get nervous. I get excited about it.
So you took what was bothering you and you turned it into an asset.
I used fear and turned it into fuel.
But isn't that a wonderful feeling when you overcome something?
Yeah.
When you're able to say, I did this. And it gives you the power and the strength to keep going. If you were to give advice to a young person, whether they're going into the broadcasting business or not, but just something that you have gained your experience through life, what little nugget would you share with somebody and say, this is what I think you should think about and remember?
First of all, you got to be open to opportunities, because people hear them all the time, but like they think, oh, maybe for somebody else, like, don't sell yourself short. Here's my motto that I've somehow came by early on and have lived by ever since.
Okay.
Whenever anyone asks you if you can do something, just say yes. And then go figure out how to do it. Just because you haven't done it before, when you think about your capabilities, don't just think about what you're doing right now and what you've done in the past. Think about all the things that you might be good at if you just had the opportunity to try it.
But you know what? You have to gain some type of confidence. Now, you're a mother.
Okay.
And I want you to talk a little bit about the kids. You're a mom, and you know one of the best things you can give your child is a sense of self-esteem.
Yeah.
To feel good. And if they're going to follow that philosophy that I'm going to try this, I'm going to say yes to it, they've got to feel good about themselves. So how do you do that with your kids?
So I always say that, when people introduce me at speeches and she's covered, 5 presidents, 3 royal weddings, blah, blah, blah. And in her spare time, she has 7 kids. It's always the 7 kids that get the applause.
Of course.
Because that's our hardest job. It really is.
I know.
So I have 3 older girls that I had them all when I was at Good Morning America. And they are all amazing adults.
I know them all.
And, Jamie's a podcast host, a wellness coach, Instagram influencer.
Gratitude.
I mean, she has a gratitudeology.
Sure.
The podcast, she has Off the Gram. She's represents a huge line called Zuda on QVC. She's just amazing.
I wonder where she got that from.
I wonder where she got all this from. And she has 2 adorable little boys, 8 and 4. And then Lindsay, she's the next one down, and she she has this artistic flair, and I don't know where she got it, but she started doing things with Play-Doh, and she now is a Play-Doh artist that for Netflix.
I've seen her work.
And
it's
like she did the Mutant Ninja Turtle movie right now. She did the Paw Patrol movie. She does like signing boards for mitzvahs. It's like crazy. And she has 2 beautiful little kids, Parker. Yeah. She's in 3rd grade, and little Leo, who's just so cute. You could just eat him alive. And then there's Sarah, and Sarah is 4 years younger. She's 36, 40, and 43. And Sarah
is a lot of
is
experience.
Like a video production supervisor. She's incredibly think out of the box creative, and she does this for a lot of high profile. And I remember Sarah called me one time. I talked her into going on during a summer on this across Honduras trip instead of going on go to Europe and like flit around. I had her go on this trip that was hiking a mountain and going down the rapids of a river and all this. She said, I got on the side of this mountain and I just wanted it to be over. I wanted a helicopter to come and get us. And then I remembered what my mom always said, you have to want it more than you're afraid of it. Sure. I want this more than I'm afraid of it. I said, oh my God, I actually influenced her. You see, and then the younger kids, though, I think are hard. You know, I have 2 sets of twins, 20 years old and 18 years old. But they're growing up in a very different world.
And why is it so different? Tell me what do you worry about?
iPhone,
okay, what do you worry about?
One word, iPhone. If I was running the world, I would end TikTok tomorrow. Okay, let me just go on record.
It's all on the phone. I agree with you.
Gone. It's horrible influence on our children. And China that gave to us, it's banned in China. Like, does that not tell you something?
Let me tell you something.
You know that I taught for a while at Lehigh University. It was on my bucket list, teach at a university.
And you did it.
And I did it. They asked me. I never taught it anywhere. And so I had to come up with a synopsis of the class and the curriculum and book guests and the whole thing. And, you know, and when I was there, it was once again trying something I'd never done before. And it was a lot of work. Like really, really a lot of work. But, you know, I think that my kids see that and they say, oh, wow, she did something totally out of the box. So one day I asked my 38 students, 18, 19, 20 years old, we'd come off the big anniversary of 9/11. I said, did any of you watch any of the wonderful documentaries? Not one hand went up. I said, by the way, do you guys where do you watch your news? You watch it on TV?
Yeah.
Not one hand.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
And I said, all right, I take personal offense to that.
It's here on the phone and it's social media.
So do you get it on your laptop?
Yeah.
1 or 2 hands. So wait a minute. You guys get all of your news off your phones?
Sure.
Yep, everyone.
Yeah.
I said, so how many of you have downloaded something, CBS, NBC, ABC, NPR, New York Times, anything that you're going to get news every day?
Right.
None.
Of course.
I said, okay, so your assignment for today is you have to download something that's going to give you news on a daily basis. I said, do you think on TikTok they're going to tell you what's going on in Ukraine or what's going on? I was so astounded and so... Oh, by the way, by the end of the class, I made everyone put away anything technical. They had put away iPads, laptops. I said, I don't know whether you're taking notes or whether you're choosing between the red and the blue Nikes.
But Joan, you know, it's a way of life.
And they all changed. They started asking my guests questions. Their grades went up.
Well, you have to give them some guidance. But, you know, the phone is what everybody's locked into. Somebody coined this once. They said it's called social ego media. And it's like, you know, putting all the time and energy into this. Who's doing what? What am I seeing? Can I put myself in there? And it seems that it's one more outrageous thing after another. Trying to compete with one another for attention.
Our children are being raised in this world that's right now filled with so much hatred.
That's disgusting.
And it's not just hatred, because it used to be that I'm sure a lot of those people that are voicing their hatred had the hatred in them. But now we've given everybody permission to anonymously verbalize.
Well, you just said the key, anonymously. You and I as journalists have always been careful about sources and making sure that we have integrity and facts and information correct when we're reporting. Now anybody can do it. and say anything you want, and there's no accountability. And that's a big part of the problem.
And they can put it up as though they're another news outlet when they're not a news outlet.
And the other thing is that people believe it.
I know.
Okay,
it's
people
sad.
believe it. Is it news or views?
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, I don't think.
I know.
It's a sad
Think of how
thing,
much has changed since you and I started reporting.
Yeah.
A couple of quick questions that I'd like to ask. Fill in the blank.
Okay.
Fill in the blank. What the world needs now is what? What do we need?
A female president that's going to have a heart but know how to discipline the kids, which is the basic public.
Okay. Female president. That's what you're looking for. We'll see what happens in the election.
Okay.
There are some choices out there.
That's true. There's a female
That's true. Exactly.
Yeah.
What's good?
I didn't make a political statement, by the way, just then.
You should run. Joan Lunden for president.
I did a speech in front of NAS, the National Association of Secretaries of State, in Washington in January, and I talked about the changes in media and the changes in politics, which have created the perfect storm right now.
Yeah.
And at the end, I was speaking to every Secretary of State of every state in the United States and their staffs. And at the end, I had like one after another, you should run for office.
You should.
Truth be told, I've always had it in the back of my mind.
Well, it's never too late.
I don't know if I would want to do it in today's world.
No, you can make a difference,
I almost did it. When I was in
difference.
Sacramento, California, I was on KCRA. I was anchoring.
Right.
And I went to see a speech of, she was a congressman, a congresswoman, Pat Schroeder.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I was so inspired by her.
Yeah.
I took my mom to lunch a couple of days later and said, I'm going to run for office. She said, what are you talking about? You're a star on television. I show all my friends. Don't get off the news. I said, Mom, I think I can make more of an impact on the world if I run. And I'm a consumer reporter and anchor. Like I could help consumers more if I ran.
Yeah.
And I was really serious. 2 weeks later, I got the offer to move to New York, and
there you are.
And there
Although,
I am.
if you had gone into politics, there's a nice quotation. I love quotations.
Me
decisions determine destiny.
Yeah.
And you make a decision, and it takes you somewhere. I love you. You know that. Everybody loves Joan Lunden. Thanks for sharing so many great stories with us.
Good
luck.
Pleasure.
All good things for you and your family, okay?
Mwah.
Love you. Bye. See you next time.